Sports is not just a word. Sports is life. Sports is everything that any sportsman would want. Any boy and girl outside there would want to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to be on the lines with me, your lovely host Keith, as I take you through the world of sports. Here we're here to dive into sports business as usual, to show you what sports has to offer to this amazing platform. I am your host Keith, and I'm going to be taking you through all the matters to do with sports. So stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot that we have prepared for you this week, and a lot of action has been going on, right from the source of the Nile up to the last part of the eastern part of Uganda. But furthermore, we have a lot to cover, of course, beyond the Nile and beyond the boundaries of Uganda. So we're going to start off with our usual segment. Of course, they say East or West, home is best. We're going to begin with the Eastern Regional League that is being participated here, that is being carried out here in the eastern part of Uganda. So you all know very well that FUFA launched out a new set of rules and regulations that clubs that are participating in these competitions are to move through, of course, and follow. Of course, these guidelines are meant to ensure that the sport of football is highly valued and give players and stakeholders reason to invest more and train more and do everything in order to have the successful game of football being played here in the East. So last week we had the teams of the Eastern Regional League being rolled out by the Eastern Region Football Federation. Of course, that is being run under the Federation of Ugandan Football, of course, the association. And we had a total of 12 teams being rolled out, being confirmed as participants for the upcoming season. That is to start due in October of this year, 2025. So amongst the notable names, we had, of course, Bugisu United FC, which is Mbale Best Side. We had Amus College, of course, also Mbale Best Side. Northern Division FC, IUFC, UCU Mbale FC, Busia Young, of course, based in Busia. We had Busoga United, Iganga Young FC, GMC Hippos FC, of course. Then we had the Walukuba Corporates alongside United, that is Mayuge, and Buyonda Victoria FC. If you're to notice, the clubs that are dominating here, of course, are from Mbale. That means it shows that here in the East, Mbale participates more. So we wait and see. Of course, the notable name that has been placed here in this season's regional league, of course, is Busoga United. Of course, we've been seeing Busoga United participate in the Uganda Premier League for quite some time, but of course, things not going there. We having been relegated 2 seasons back into the FUFA Big League, and then also having not met the requirements, of course, in terms of the games played and the points earned, still having been relegated to the third tier of Ugandan football, which is the regional league. So Busoga United happens to be the standout team that is going to be in this season's league. So we wait and see what's going to happen, honestly, but we wish them well, and we hope to see more teams come up and being promoted into the next phase of the league. Away from that, we have more to do. Let's talk about some bit of rugby. We've been having a lot of rugby action taking place. Of course, we've had the regular season getting done, of course, with the Stanbic Bank Black Pirates emerging as champions of the Nile Special Rugby Premiership, of course, recently ended. And of course, now all attention is now turned to the 7th circuit. It should be known that last week we had the Entebbe Sevens taking place in Entebbe city, that is the side of Kampala, and we had that team coming out and showcasing what they can. Now this weekend we are being treated to a treat, of course, in Jinja, whereby the Walukuba Barbarians will be hosting the Chabazinga Sevens. These are quite spectacular events, of course, but for this one is so special. Why? Because It is being broadcasted and being participated in Jinja, of course, the waters grounds along the Nile. We're having quite a number of teams that are coming through to participate, of course, here in the Eastern region, but of course with some notable heavyweights as well coming through for this circuit, of course, the 7th circuit, the National 7th circuit. But of course, the notable names, of course, in this 7th circuit, we have the Black Pirates, of course, who are the reigning national 15th champions of the Nile Special Rugby Premiership, of course. Then we are having the likes of Rhinos coming through as well. Also a big name in Ugandan rugby. We are having the Elgon Wolves of the Mbali best side taking part in these sevens, of course. Then we're having the Njero Hurricanes, which makes up Pool A. Then Pool B, we have Walukuba Barbarians coming through, of course, the hosts for this circuit, of course, alongside the Rams, the Makerere best side, of course, then the Gulu City Falcons, the northern best side, then the Kakira Simbas, of course, the Jinja best side as well, making Pool B. Then Pool C, we have the heavyweights, which is the Hippos, Heathens, Eagles, and the Mbale Elephants, of course. So Mbale best side here as well, making up Pool C. Then finally Pool D, whereby we have the Buffaloes, the Toyota Buffaloes, then the Cobs, and then the Plascon Mongers as well, alongside the Soroti Rangers, which is the Soroti best side. So all these teams, as you see them, are going to be taking part. The 16 teams will be taking part in the National 7th circuit, which is running from the 16th of September up until the 7th of September at the Damwater Arena in Jinja, of course, with Walukuba Barbarians being the host team. So we wait and see what's going to happen. Of course, the odds are on Black Pirates to showcase if they can show the dominance they've been having in the 15s and bringing it to the 7s. Or the odds are on the Heathens, of course, who have been National 7s champions for quite some time. And if they can revitalize that form that they've been having, to bring it into this year's event, of course, and see if they can come out as eventual winners, or it is on the odds are on Walukuba Barbarians, of course, having shocked the world last year to win this particular 7th circuit, of course, winning them. Can they bring back that form? We wait and see. But also, of course, to add on, the Chavazinga Sevens come at a time when the Kingdom of Busoga is having a celebratory mood. Of course, having heard that their king and his queen have put to bed a set of twins, actually, who have blessed the kingdom. So we wait and see. Of course, now these circuits are being used as a celebratory mode, of course, to bring people together and have this news celebrated. So we wait and see whoever is going to be the eventual champion for this 7th circuit. We wait and see. So away from that, let's talk some Ugandan football as well. Recently, we've had national teams coming up and announcing their players who have been called up to come and represent their various nations. But for us back here in Uganda, it's been quite a roller coaster. Of course, you realize that recently, having hosted the Chan Pamoja tournament, of course, that has been taking place in the 3 states of Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, and then having very many players showcasing what they had, the likes of Torach, the likes of Mukundane, the likes of Alan Okello, showing off what they can bring onto the table. So we are currently in the international break, as you can see, and Uganda has been in action. Of course, it was in action yesterday, of course, the Friday the 6th, against Mozambique at the Nelson Mandela National Stadium there in Kampala. So we get to realize that very many teams have been having Ugandan best players, but now it was time for them to show what they can do and what they can bring to the national team. So of course, Uganda coming out as the dominant side, winning their game 4-0 against Mozambique, courtesy of goals from Alan Okello, of course, who opened the scoring. Then Roger Smarto doubling the lead, of course, with his brace, and then the Jazz 13, that is Elio Caprodossi, the Italian best defender, who came through and scored the goal that closed everything. It should be known that Uganda is in the same group as Algeria, Guinea, Somalia, Botswana, and Algeria, Guinea, Botswana, and Sudan. So currently they rank number 3. having won yesterday's game 4-0. So they play Somalia on Monday evening. So wait and see. Can these boys replicate what they have been training, what they've been doing at their various clubs? Of course, as you can see, yesterday's game was more of a statement of intent to the world, showing them that, you know what, Ugandans can't be left behind when it comes to issues of football. So we wait and see. Monday, Uganda will be in action, of course, against the Somali Republic. So we don't know what awaits us, but of course, I believe the boys will produce something, and we hope to see what's good for them. You're still watching Beyond the Lines with me, your host Keith. We're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more sports entertainment. Stay tuned. You're still watching Beyond the Lines with me, your host Keith. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope you're still tuned in and locked in, because we have quite a lot that we are here to share with you. So before we went into that break, we were talking about Ugandan football, and we were breaking down the insights on the Cranes' performance, of course, that was exhibited on Friday against the Mozambique, the coastal nation, of course, from Southern Africa. Away from that, let's talk some Chan, the Pamoja Chan tournament that took place here in East Africa, of course, the East African community having the opportunity of hosting the continental showpiece here, of course, with the three states, that is Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania being host, and of course hospitable conditions to all. What is going on? Welcome back from that commercial break. Before we went into the commercial break, we're still talking about Ugandan football, and of course breaking down the performances that the boys exhibited on Friday while they were taking on Mozambique, whereby they dominated 4-0, of course coming out as the winners. And away from that, let's talk some bit of East African football or some African football, of course. We know where we're going to head to, of course, that is CHAN. Of course, the East African community having the opportunity to host the Pamoja CHAN 2024 edition, of course, initially which was meant to be taking place in Kenya, but of course agreement between three brothers coming up to showcase what the East African community is all about when it comes to football. So of course Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania coming through as hosts, of course giving the African continent the hospitality that they need, that they so wished for, of course, having come to East Africa with so many expectations. Of course, the three states not disappointing, of course, hosting this CHAN tournament, and of course bringing out their best as well. Of course, CHAN is, as you all know, is a tournament that is played. So of course Morocco eventually coming out as 3-2 winners, and of course clinching their third ever CHAN trophy, that is the African Championship, ensuring that they cement their legacy as one of the most successful teams, of course, not only in this competition, but also in Africa as well, of course, showing how strong the Moroccan local league as well is when it comes to producing of such talents, of course. Of course, having gone behind in the first half to Madagascar, but again responding eventually, and then Morocco taking the eventual lead again, and then Madagascar coming through again to equalize, then Morocco sealing the deal, of course, with a spectacular goal from one of their home-best players, of course, ensuring that they clinch their third CHAN trophy, making them the most successful team on the continent when it comes to the African Championships. Of course, shout out goes to the three states that hosted, that is Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania, that enabled the countries that came through for this championship to enjoy a credible stay while here at the East African community, but also showing how strong their leagues are as well, because you realize that Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania all topping their groups during the group stages. That alone shows you that all these teams are capable, of course, and they produce world-class players, of course. But of course things may not have gone their way, but of course we had Morocco coming through as eventual champions for this year's edition. Of course, this being a curtain raiser for the Pamoja AFCON bid that will be taking place in the year 2027, of course. This being also a curtain raiser and an eye opener, of course, to show the world that East Africa is not just known as the Eastern Coast, but also the home of football, of course. So welcome back from that CHAN extravaganza, and we hope you had fun. We hope you were treated to lots of ecstasies, of course, when it comes to the local football, of course, here in Africa. So away from that, we're going to go to some bit of international sports, of course, with starting it off on a sad note, of course, because not all that glitters is gold, of course, as you understand. So, of course, in the world of football worldwide, we're going to start from Germany, of course, with the team called Bayer Leverkusen, of course, which participates or competes in the German Bundesliga, which is the German top tier, of course, having the best of the best, of course, in Germany. So news coming to our desk, of course, can confirm that Erik ten Hag, as this week was going through, was shown the exit just after 2 games in charge of the Bayer Leverkusen, in charge of the German best side, of course, having results not going his way, of course, having 2 losses, of course, a loss against Hoffenheim and also a loss against Werder Bremen, ensuring that Erik ten Hag would be shot the exit, of course, with the board, of course, expressing their dissatisfaction in the Dutchman, of course, who was the coach at that time. Of course, it should be known that Ten Hag, prior to him getting the job at Bayer Leverkusen, was formerly at Manchester United and Ajax. But of course, notably Manchester United, where things didn't go well, of course. But of course, registering some success, of course, having won the 2 trophies, of course, that is the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, to show that he is also a world-class manager. So we wish him well. But of course, he joins the list of former Manchester United managers who have lost their jobs prior to the start of the season, of course, with Jose Mourinho deciding to part ways with Fenerbahce, a Turkish-based side, of course, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer also parting ways with his team in Istanbul Besiktas, of course, also in Turkey as well. It goes on to show you the rate at which these managers have been leaving their jobs or parting ways, or maybe because the board is not very, very comfortable with their approach or style of management for their clubs. But all in all, we wish them well, and we hope that both teams all teams will find solutions to their managerial crisis, of course, because we call it a crisis right now, because as we're in the international break right now, very many these teams, I'm very sure, are strategizing, of course, and they would love to bring in creme de la creme that will help their teams move forward when it comes to their football as well. So away from that, we've been having some Premier League action taking place. Of course, we all know very well that we are into match week 3. Before the international break, we went into match week 3, and we were treated to a spectacle of performances from teams. Of course, everybody wanting to know how their team has been performing as well. For the Premier League, we went into match week 3 with quite a number of games. Of course, Chelsea taking on Fulham, and Chelsea eventual winners with a 2-0 win. Then Manchester United overcoming all odds at home to beat Burnley, a Burnley side which kept on responding to their attacks, of course. Then Sunderland coming through to beat the Brentford side, of course, the Bees 2-1 at the Stadium of Light. Then Tottenham losing their first game of the season, of course, the Premier League season, that is 1-0 to a Bournemouth side, a high-flying Bournemouth side. Then having the Wolves as well, Wolverhampton Wanderers, losing their game against Everton at the Molineux Stadium, that is in England as well. Then we had Leeds and Newcastle playing it all out to a 0-0 draw at Elland Road in Wales. Then Sunday treated us also to a spectacular as well, with Brighton and Hove Albion overcoming all the odds to beat Manchester City 2-0. And then the game of the weekend, that is the game, that is Liverpool taking on Arsenal, of course, with Liverpool coming out as 1-0 victors, courtesy of a Szoboszlai goal. And then West Ham taking on Nottingham Forest and shocking Nottingham Forest by beating them 3-0. Of course, then the last game of the day, which was Crystal Palace and Aston Villa, of course, with Crystal Palace coming through as eventual winners, which is 3-0, courtesy of Ismail Assar goals, of course, coming through as well for Crystal Palace. So it goes on to show you that match week 3, teams are not resting, and everybody is in their backyard trying to see how best they can perform this season and how good of a performance they can showcase to their fans, to their supporters, maybe some potential business people coming through, of course. So when we look at the table currently, of course, you'll get to understand that Liverpool is leading the charts, of course, with 3-3, of course, having won their game against Bournemouth, their game against Newcastle, and then their game against Arsenal. Then, of course, Arsenal coming through as number 2 for this season, and then Manchester City, it is Tottenham coming through, of course, to close the top 4, and Chelsea, of course, having won their games. So it is Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham that make up the top 4, and then we have we have Everton and Sunderland making the top 6, and then Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, and Manchester United, alongside Nottingham Forest, make up the top 10 for match week 3. So it goes on to show you that everybody is working in their backyard, and then we have Brighton, Leeds, Manchester City, Burnley, and Brentford, West Ham coming through to make the top 16. Of course, then we have Newcastle making it the top 17. Then the bottom 3, of course, for match week 3, which is Fulham, Aston Villa, and Wolverhampton Wanderers. So we are just 3 match weeks into the season, and we still have more match weeks to go. So we wait and see what's going to come, of course, what we are going to make of the season, and see how good these teams can perform, of course. So away from the Premier League, we're going to talk a bit of transfers, of course. We're starting off our transfer segment with one big move that was made from PSG to Manchester City, that is Gianluigi Donnarumma, Italian goalkeeper who decided to part ways with the current UEFA Champions League champions and FIFA Club finalists of 2025. Gianluigi Donnarumma deciding to make the switch from Paris to Manchester, of course, the blue side, which is Manchester City, coming through for an initial of 26 million euros. Of course, Donnarumma was notable in the last year's Champions League performances. Of course, having been there and stopped Liverpool, Arsenal, to make it to the final of the Champions League, and eventually beating Inter Milan 5-0 as well. Of course, that man there on your screen being on the posts, of course. So he has decided to part ways with Paris Saint-Germain and decided to come through to Manchester City. Another notable transfer, of course, in the Premier League still, is that of Ederson Morales leaving Manchester City after 8 years of service to the Blues, and deciding to switch allegiance to the Turkish side, that is Fenerbahce, which was formerly coached by Jose Mourinho, of course. Now he decides to go and play for the Turkish best side. So wait and see. After 8 years at Etihad, what do you think? What do we expect from this gentleman? We wait and see what he has to bring to the table as well. So as away from that, we had the transfer of Samé Lemans coming through from Royal Antwerp, joining the red side of Manchester, which is Manchester United. Of course, signing on an initial 21 million euros, coming through from Royal Antwerp in Belgium to Manchester United. Of course, Manchester United are having a crisis currently when it comes to their goalkeeping situation. Of course, having the likes of Ayatea Bayandea, the Turkish international, and the Andre Onana, of course, those being as their functioning goalkeepers, of course, alongside Tom Heaton as well, who is there to also be training as well with them. But the addition of Samé Lemans ensures Manchester United have the depth they need when it comes to their goalkeeping situation. But we really hope that all things go well for them, because it's been quite a disaster for them when it comes to the goalkeeping side of things, conceding easy goals and then just no communication totally, of course. But of course, you know, everything, like they always say, it is a process. Okay, so we wait and see what's going to happen when it comes to Manchester United. So Manchester United, still sticking with Manchester United, we had a couple of exits as well. Notably the one of Victor Lindelof moving from Manchester United to Aston Villa on an initial 2-year deal. Of course, his contract with Manchester United had expired, but on deadline day, it was confirmed that he had signed for the West Midlands side, and we hope to see what he could bring to the table. Of course, his notable appearances have been at Manchester United. Of course, for the longest, he's been signing here in 2018, of course, and leaving here in 2025, of course. So we wait and see. So another exit from the Manchester best side, of course, we have a notable one, which is Jadon Sancho, leaving the club again for an initial loan as well. So Sancho has made the switch also to West Midlands. Of course, previously he was on loan at Chelsea and Dortmund the other season, but now decides to play his football at the West Midlands. So we wait and see what he could bring to the table. Of course, Jadon Sancho being described as one of the bomb squad members in Ruben Amorim's team. But we wait and see what's going to happen, honestly, because he's quite the talent. And of course, with the 2026 World Cup coming through, he would love to give Thomas Tuchel a run for his money so that he could be selected for the England squad, of course. So sticking with Manchester United, Rasmus Højlund has also made the switch, a loan switch to the Italian champions, that is the Serie A, that is Napoli. Of course, Højlund has not had the best of life when it comes to being a striker for Manchester United, but because of his consistency and willingness to improve and to showcase what he can do, of course, he has decided that he would play his football in Italy for the upcoming season, of course joining the likes of Scott McTominay, who had initially left the club last season, of course, as well, joining the Italian champions as well. So we wait and see what's going to happen, honestly, but we wish him well, and we hope all things go well for him back there in Italy. So away from Manchester United, other notable transfers, we had Matt O'Reilly leaving Brighton and heading to Marseille. Of course, Marseille not having quite the best of time currently with their internal issues. They're trying to obstruct their performance, of course, and having some of the players also being misbehaved, of course. So Matt O'Reilly has been fetched from Brighton, of course, on an initial loan deal, of course, and he's made the switch to Marseille, where he'll be playing his football, of course, for this season. So we wait and see what the former Celtic playmaker will make of his time in France again. So away from that, the biggest deal of the transfer, the transfer deadline day, and maybe notably the transfer, is Alexander Isak leaving Newcastle to shift goalposts to Merseyside, which is Liverpool. So his deal has been up and down. Everybody has been complaining, including him. Of course, you notice that he came through with a statement, of course, expressing his gratitude to the fans, of course, but also expressing his discontent to the Newcastle administration, and things not going on well as planned. But all in all, finally his deal came through at last moment, and he has made the switch from Newcastle to Liverpool Football Club, who are the current English champions. So away from Isak, we're going to take you to Anthony as well. Anthony, who was Manchester United's number 7, of course, but this time around deciding to leave and go on a permanent basis to Real Betis, where he was playing his football for the second part of last season. So Anthony has not been having the best of life at Manchester United. Of course, you remember him 2 seasons back when Erik ten Hag had signed him from Ajax, and of course making an instant impact. Of course, goals against Arsenal on his debut, then a goal against Everton, and then also against Manchester City. But again, after that time, things have not been going on well for him. But all in all, we wish him the very best, and we hope all things go well for him. So those have been some of the notable transfers, of course, with Johan Wieso. Johan Wieso also making the switch from Brentford to Newcastle as well to replace Isak as well. So we wish all those players the best. Yeah, that is Johan Wieso. Of course, the Congolese international who has made the switch from the Brentford side, that is the Bees, to Newcastle, that is the St. James Park, of course. So we'll wait and see what he can bring to the table. Of course, currently being on international duty with Congo, and of course having scored in yesterday's game against South Sudan, we wait and see what's going to happen, honestly, because he's been a tested and proven striker, of course, while in the Premier League and while playing for Brentford Soccer Club. So we wait and see. There has been some of the notable transfers that have been taking place on deadline day, and honestly, we are just 3 match weeks into the season, so we wait and see what's going to happen, because every team has signed and everyone has restocked. So now it's the football that is going to do the talking for them, and we hope results can go their way, honestly. You have been good viewers and listeners of this show, that is the Beyond the Lines. Of course, we've been diving straight into some bit of sports and diving straight into some bit of some good analytics as well when it comes to the field of sports. I want to thank you so much for listening, for watching, for wherever you are. I'm going to encourage you to please subscribe and always get first-hand information when it comes to issues with sports. I have been your host, Keith. I sign out and see you next time. Bye.